Commander Alex Reeves jolted awake as the ship's emergency klaxons blared. Red warning lights pulsed throughout the cockpit, casting crimson shadows across the control panels. "Status report," he demanded, his voice still rough from sleep. The ship's computer responded with artificial calm. Primary engine core destabilizing. Quantum containment at 32% and falling. Catastrophic failure imminent in 7 minutes, 43 seconds. Alex's fingers flew across the control interface, bypassing safety protocols and rerouting emergency power. The scout vessel, a sleek, military-grade Pathfinder class, shuddered violently as the quantum drive fluctuated. "Nearest outpost or settlement?" he asked, already plotting emergency trajectories. "Kelnar 9 trading station. Independent territory. 4 minutes at maximum sublight." Not ideal. Kelnar 9 existed in that grey zone beyond Earth Confederation space, technically neutral, practically lawless. A gathering point for a dozen alien species, most of whom maintained complicated relationships with humanity. "No choice," Alex muttered. "Emergency approach vectors. Now." The Pathfinder lurched forward, its failing engines screaming as Alex pushed them beyond recommended limits. Through the view screen, Kelnar 9 materialized against the backdrop of space. A massive structure resembling a metallic lotus flower, its petals housing various docking bays and commercial districts. His emergency codes barely secured him landing clearance. The ship touched down with a bone-jarring impact that sent diagnostic panels exploding in showers of sparks. Alex grabbed his emergency kit and evacuation pack before the engine core finally went critical, contained only by the last-second shutdown protocols. Standing on the docking platform, he watched thin wisps of coolant vapor rise from his ship's hull. The damage was catastrophic. Quantum regulator fried, containment system compromised, navigation computer offline. Without repairs, he'd never make it back to human space. The station's atmosphere hit him immediately. Air slightly thinner than Earth standard, gravity about 90% of what he was accustomed to. The docking bay teemed with alien life. Tall, willowy Mersians with their characteristic blue skin, and 4 arms moved with liquid grace. Stocky Drevlani traders argued loudly over cargo manifests. A group of insectoid clerk workers scuttled past, mandibles kicking in their native language. All activity seemed to pause momentarily as the occupants noticed the human in their midst. Conversations quieted, eyes, stalks, and sensory appendages turned toward Alex. Humans were rare this far out. Rarer still were human military officers. Alex straightened his spine and moved purposefully toward the station's central corridor. The first repair shop he found, Grexlar's Premium Stellar Repairs, turned him away after barely glancing at his ship's diagnostics. Human quantum technology? Too unstable. Too dangerous, the Mersian proprietor said dismissively. Try elsewhere. The pattern repeated across 5 more establishments. Some quoted impossible prices, knowing he'd refuse. Others simply claimed incompatibility with human systems. One Drevlani repair technician was at least honest. Your Confederation has a reputation, human, aggressive expansion, military superiority. Why should I help their scout get back to report on our sector? By his 6th rejection, Alex's emergency ration bar tasted like ash in his mouth. His military credit chip wouldn't last long in civilian space, and the nearest human outpost was weeks away at best. The cold reality of his situation sank in as he watched a clerk repair crew actively avoid eye contact. He was stranded, alone, in a station full of species with every reason to distrust humans and no reason to help one. He needed a miracle, or at the very least, someone desperate enough to deal with a stranded human. Desperation drove Alex to a dimly lit establishment called the Void's Edge. The bar catered to station workers and traders of all species, its atmosphere thick with exotic smoke and the mingled scents of a dozen different alcohols. Alex slid onto a stool designed for a body shape quite different from human anatomy. The discomfort matched his mood perfectly. What brings Earth military to our humble station? The barkeeper, a Trilaxian with 3 arms and iridescent scales, placed a glass of amber liquid before him without being asked. "Ship trouble," Alex replied cautiously. "No one seems interested in helping." "Understandable." The Trilaxian's mandibles clicked softly. "Your kind has a reputation." "So I've been told," repeatedly. Alex tasted the drink, surprisingly like cinnamon with a pine needle aftertaste. "Not unpleasant. Any suggestions?" The barkeeper studied him, multifaceted eyes glinting in the low light. "Perhaps. What does your pride value more? Secrecy or solutions?" At this point, solutions. The Trilaxian leaned closer. "Seek the outer ring. Workshop with the red delta symbol. Not conventional, but skilled with all technologies, even human." Alex placed extra credits on the counter. "Thank you." The journey to the station's periphery revealed Kelnar 9's stratified nature. The central rings housed official businesses, regulated and respectable. Each outward ring grew progressively less polished, more diverse, and significantly more interesting. The outer ring existed in perpetual twilight, its environmental systems running at minimum capacity. Shops and dwellings had been jury-rigged into spaces never intended for commerce. Aliens from species Alex couldn't even identify conducted transactions in shadowed corners. He nearly missed the workshop. The red delta symbol glowed faintly above a narrow entrance, wedged between what appeared to be a spice merchant and an exotic pet emporium. 6 different languages declared Vex's repairs on a holographic sign that flickered and danced. Alex hesitated before the threshold. The military intelligence briefings about Kelnar 9 had mentioned nothing about this area. Stepping inside would mean entering truly unknown territory, but his options had run out. The interior defied his expectations. Rather than the chaotic junkyard he anticipated, the workshop displayed a complex organizational system. Parts and components from dozens of technologies, some recognizably Mercian or Drevlani, others completely alien, were arranged in patterns that suggested a methodical mind. Diagnostic screens floated in the air, displaying schematics that rotated and shifted. Tools of various origins hung on magnetic strips or hovered at workstations. "You are far from your territory, human." The voice came from behind a curtain of suspended holographic displays. A figure emerged, tall and slender with azure skin that shimmered like polished opal under the workshop lights. 6 arms, each moving with precise independence, adjusted tools and components as she approached. Vexalia was unmistakably Zitharan, a species known for theoretical brilliance and technological conservatism. Her eyes shifted colour as she studied him, transitioning from amber to deep purple. "Commander Alex Reeves, Earth Confederation Scout Division," he introduced himself, surprised by her calm demeanour. Most Zitharans avoided humans entirely. "Fascinating," she replied, circling him with analytical interest. "I rarely encounter your kind here. What brings you to my workshop, Commander?" "Quantum drive failure. No one else will touch it." Her eyes shifted to a bright, curious blue. "Show me." Alex transferred his ship's schematics to her system. 6 arms worked in perfect coordination across multiple interfaces, examining the data from different angles simultaneously. Interesting design. Aggressive but elegant, she murmured. Then, unexpectedly, she smiled, a gesture that transformed her alien features into something almost familiar. I can fix this. For the first time since his emergency landing, Alex felt a flicker of genuine hope. I can repair your quantum regulator and stabilize your drive core, Vex declared, her multiple arms gesturing with precision as she finished analyzing his ship's diagnostics. The containment chamber needs complete reconstruction, but I have compatible materials. Alex felt the weight on his shoulders lighten. Name your price. Vex's eyes shifted to a calculating emerald green. Credits are not what I require, Commander. His hand instinctively moved toward his sidearm, a reflex from years of military training. Nothing came free in places like Kelnar 9, and unexpected proposals rarely favored the desperate. Vex noticed the gesture and laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a summer breeze. Your caution is warranted but unnecessary. I seek a service only someone with your biological capabilities can provide. She manipulated a control panel with 3 hands, while the other 3 continued organizing components for his ship repairs. A holographic projection materialized between them. A derelict vessel trapped in a swirling maelstrom of energy around a pulsing neutron star. The last horizon, she said, her voice softening with reverence. My great-grandmother's exploration vessel lost 96 standard cycles ago. Recently located by salvagers who lacked the courage to board her. The ship's elegant design was unmistakably Zitharan, though of an antiquated style. Its hull showed significant damage, and radiation warnings flashed across the projection. The radiation belt would kill most species within minutes, Vex continued. But humans, your kind possesses remarkable resistance. With proper protection, you could survive long enough to retrieve something precious to my family. Alex studied the readouts with professional interest. The radiation levels were extreme, but manageable with his military-grade protection gear. Still, the risk was substantial. What exactly am I retrieving? He asked. A data core containing my great-grandmother's final research findings. A family heirloom of significant personal value. Her eyes flickered briefly to indigo, a color Alex couldn't interpret without knowledge of Zitharan emotional signaling. And for this heirloom, you'll fix my ship. The proposal seemed too simple, too convenient. Why haven't you hired other humans passing through? Humans are rare here. Trustworthy humans rarer still. 3 of her arms crossed in a gesture that mimicked human body language with surprising accuracy. Your military background suggests reliability and capability. Your stranded status suggests motivation. Alex circled the hologram, analyzing the derelict's position and condition. Standard salvage operations would take weeks to extract anything from that radiation belt. The Confederation would write off both ship and pilot rather than attempt such a recovery. If I agree, when do we leave? I can have your protection gear modified by tomorrow's station cycle. We depart immediately after. Vex extended one of her 6 hands in what was clearly an adopted human gesture. Do we have an agreement, Commander Reeves? Alex hesitated. The logical part of his brain catalogued all the ways this arrangement could be a trap, an exploitation, or worse. His tactical training identified at least 7 potential ulterior motives. Yet something in the Zitharan's manner suggested genuine need rather than deception. In his years of service, Alex had developed an intuition about people, even non-human people. He clasped her hand, noting the strange texture of her skin, cool and smooth like polished stone. "We have an agreement, but I expect complete transparency from this point forward." "Of course," Vex replied, her eyes shifting to a bright, clear blue. Partners should have nothing less. Dawn on Kelnar 9 wasn't the gradual lightening of a planetary horizon, but rather the scheduled brightening of environmental systems across the station's sectors. Alex arrived at Vex's workshop as the illumination reached 70% of daytime levels. The Zetherin was already working, all 6 arms engaged in different tasks simultaneously. 3 manipulated quantum-sensitive components no human could safely handle without protective gear, while 2 others calibrated diagnostic equipment. Her final hand brought a steaming cup to her lips. "You're punctual. A trait I appreciate," she said without looking up from her work. Alex set down his emergency pack containing his survival gear and sidearm. "Military habit. How are the repairs progressing?" "Efficiently." One arm gestured to a holographic display showing his scout ship's engine compartment. "Your quantum regulator was not merely damaged, but deliberately sabotaged." Alex froze. "What did you say?" "The failure pattern is inconsistent with standard decay or stress fractures." 3 of her hands created a zoomed-in representation of microscopic tool marks. "Someone wanted your ship to fail, Commander, though they intended a more catastrophic outcome than your emergency landing." A cold certainty settled in Alex's gut. His last assignment had involved charting anomalies near the Drovari Expanse, officially a scientific mission, unofficially reconnaissance of suspected weapons development. "Can you determine when it was done?" "Approximately 17 standard days ago, based on oxidation patterns." The timeline matched his last maintenance stop at Outpost Gamma 6 before heading into uncharted territory. Someone had wanted to ensure he never returned with whatever data he might collect. "Your enemies have access to your military facilities," Vex observed, her eyes shifting to a calculating yellow. "Interesting." Alex changed the subject. "Tell me about this family heirloom while you work." Vex's movements paused almost imperceptibly. "As I said, a data core containing my great-grandmother's research." "And what was that research exactly?" The Zetherin resumed her work, hands moving with deliberate precision. "My great-grandmother was Texela, once head of the Zetherin Science Academy's Advanced Propulsion Division. Her theories on quantum resonance were controversial." "Controversial how?" "The Zetherin High Council prefers technological stability over innovation. Progress is permitted only along established, predictable paths." Bitterness edged her melodic voice. Texela believed in pushing boundaries, in questioning fundamental assumptions about interspecies cooperation in scientific advancement. Alex watched her work, noting how she handled his ship's components with unconventional techniques. "Your repair methods aren't standard Zetherin protocols, are they?" "Very observant, Commander." Her eyes shifted to impressed purple. "No, they are not. My family has developed alternative approaches for generations, approaches the Council considers dangerous and subversive." Understanding dawned. "You're not just seeking a family keepsake. The data core contains forbidden research. Research that could revolutionize interstellar travel and communication," Vex admitted. "Research that challenges the Council's technological monopoly and their carefully maintained position in galactic politics." "Which means the Council would rather it stay lost," Alex concluded. "How much danger are we actually facing here?" Vex's eyes deepened to a somber blue. "If the Council discovers our mission, we will both be charged with technology theft and unauthorized archaeological interference. Capital Crimes in Zetheran Space. And you didn't think this was worth mentioning earlier. Would you have agreed if I had? All 6 of her hands stilled as she met his gaze directly. Alex should have been angry, should have walked away immediately. Instead, he found himself intrigued by the rebel engineer and her family's multi-generational defiance of authority. "Just finish fixing my ship," he said finally. "And next time, full disclosure before we enter a radiation belt on an illegal salvage operation." The shuttlecraft approached the derelict vessel, which hung suspended in the blazing radiation of the neutron star like a moth caught in amber. The last horizon's elegant lines were marred by carbon scoring and micrometeor impacts, its once gleaming hull now dull after nearly a century adrift. "Beautiful, isn't she?" Vex murmured from the co-pilot's seat, her eyes shifting to a nostalgic turquoise. Zetheran exploration vessels from that era were works of art as much as science. Alex focused on piloting through the radiation belt, their modified shuttle shuddering as energy waves buffeted its shields. How did it end up here? This isn't exactly a popular travel route. According to historical records, Texela was fleeing council enforcers. She plotted a desperate jump to escape, but something went wrong. Vex monitored radiation levels on her display. The ship disappeared. The council declared her a traitor, erased her scientific contributions from our archives. The shuttle's proximity alerts chimed as they established a holding position 50 meters from the derelict. Alex completed final checks on his radiation suit, a military-grade protection system enhanced by Vex's modifications. The radiation will interfere with communications intermittently. Vex warned as she helped seal his helmet. "Trust your instincts if we lose contact." And, Commander, her eyes shifted to concerned Violet. "The data core will be in the central research lab, but the ship's automated security may still be active." "Automated security?" Alex raised an eyebrow. "Another detail you neglected to mention. Zetheran vessels are designed to protect their technology from non-Zetheran borders," she explained, at least having the decency to look embarrassed. "Given the radiation levels, I didn't think any systems would still be operational after all this time." "Never underestimate well-built technology," Alex muttered, securing his sidearm. "Keep the shuttle ready. If I'm not back in 3 hours, leave without me." "That won't be necessary," Vex replied with surprising certainty. The airlock cycled, and Alex crossed the void between vessels using his suit's propulsion system. The entry point, a maintenance airlock on the ship's ventral side, responded to Vex's override codes transmitted from the shuttle. Emergency lights flickered weakly as Alex entered, casting long shadows down curved corridors designed for bodies different from his own. The ship's life support was inactive, but residual power still flowed through essential systems. "I'm inside," Alex reported through his comm. "Minimal lighting, zero gravity, no atmosphere. Structure seems intact." "Follow the central corridor toward the command deck," Vex's voice replied, breaking up slightly. "The research lab should be 2 levels below." Alex pushed himself forward, moving with the practiced efficiency of someone trained for Zerog operations. His radiation counter ticked steadily upward, still within safe parameters, but a constant reminder that time was limited. Without warning, a security bulkhead slammed shut behind him, the sudden movement creating enough force in the Zerog environment to propel him forward. His training kicked in as he arrested his momentum against a wall fixture. "Vex, we have active security systems," he reported. Static answered. "Vex, do you copy?" The comm crackled with interference before clearing partially. "Defense systems, not designed for Be careful. A soft mechanical wire drew his attention. A panel in the wall slid open, revealing a spherical security drone. Its optical sensor focused on him, pulsing from yellow to red. Unauthorized biological entity detected, announced a synthesized voice in accented Galactic standard. Initiating containment protocols. The drone fired an energy pulse. Alex pushed off the wall, tumbling gracefully through Zerog as the blast scorched the bulkhead behind where he'd been. 3 more drones emerged from hidden compartments. Military training took over. In the time it would have taken most species to assess the situation, Alex had already calculated trajectories, identified cover, and formulated a counterattack. The first drone exploded as his precisely aimed shot hit its power core. Humans hadn't survived for thousands of years on a predator-filled planet by being slow to adapt. Alex dispatched the final security drone with a precisely aimed shot, then pushed himself down the corridor using the derelict's wall fixtures. His suit's radiation counter continued its steady climb, still within tolerable limits, but the persistent beeping reminded him that every minute aboard the last horizon borrowed against his future health. "Vex, do you copy?" Static answered his call, occasionally broken by fragments of the Zoutheran's voice. The radiation belt was intensifying, likely due to fluctuations in the neutron star's output. Following the ship's labyrinthine layout, Alex descended 2 levels through an emergency access shaft. The research laboratory should be nearby, according to Vex's briefing. His helmet light swept across door markings and flowing Zitharan script. Command Center, Maintenance Access, Research Laboratory. Alex traced the alien characters with his gloved finger. Even with his military translator implant, the archaic dialect was challenging. The laboratory entrance featured a biometric security system designed for 6-fingered Zitharan hands. Dead for decades, but the backup mechanical system remained functional. Alex retrieved the override sequence Vex had provided, inputting it carefully into the ancient keypad. Nothing happened. Of course it wouldn't be that easy, he muttered, examining the door more carefully. A manual release existed, standard on most vessels regardless of species, but it would require significant physical strength to activate after a century of disuse. Alex braced himself against the opposite wall in the zero gravity and pushed against the manual lever with his legs. Human muscles, evolved on a high-gravity world and enhanced by military conditioning, strained against the frozen mechanism. With a shriek of protesting metal, the lever gave way, and the doors reluctantly parted. The laboratory beyond was a testament to Zitharan ingenuity. Even after a century abandoned, the room's emergency power systems maintained minimal functionality. Holographic displays flickered weakly, and preservation fields hummed around delicate equipment. At the center, protected by multiple security measures, stood a crystalline cube approximately 20 centimeters across. It pulsed with inner light, soft blues and purples that shifted and danced like liquid stars. The quantum resonance matrix, Alex whispered, recognizing it from Vex's descriptions. This was no mere data core, but the prototype itself, the forbidden technology that had cost Texela her reputation and possibly her life. As he approached, a holographic recording activated. The image of an elderly Zitharan female appeared, her 6 arms moving with the deliberate precision of advanced age. Calibration log, final entry. The recording began in accented Galactic standard. The human adaptation to our theoretical models has proven successful beyond our expectations. Their intuitive approach to quantum mechanics complemented our mathematical precision perfectly. Alex froze. Human adaptation. The recording continued as if answering his question. Commander Eliza Chen's insights regarding fluctuation tolerances solved the stability problem that has plagued our work for decades. The hologram shifted to show a human woman in an unfamiliar uniform working alongside the Zitharan scientist. Our collaboration proves what I have long argued. Progress requires diversity of thought across species boundaries. Alex stared in disbelief. The timestamp on the recording predated official first contact between humans and Zitharans by nearly 30 years. The Council fears what they cannot control, the recording continued. But this technology belongs to no single species. When completed, the quantum resonance matrix will connect all civilizations instantaneously, rendering distance meaningless and transforming our understanding of the universe. As the recording faded, Alex carefully disengaged the preservation field and secured the matrix in his specialized container. His mind raced with implications. This wasn't just forbidden technology, it was evidence of secret collaboration between humans and Zitharans decades before official records acknowledged contact. Suddenly, the ship lurched violently. Warning alarms blared through his helmet speakers as Vex's voice broke through the static. Alex, the neutron star, unexpected flare activity, radiation spike, get out now. The return journey through the derelict became a desperate race against time as system failures cascaded throughout the ancient vessel. Hull integrity warnings flashed across Alex's helmet display as the radiation surge from the neutron star overwhelmed the ship's remaining shielding. Structure compromised in sections 3 through 7, his suit computer warned. Recommended evacuation route blocked by debris. Alex secured the quantum matrix container to his utility belt and assessed his options. The main corridors were becoming death traps as century-old bulkheads buckled under the stress. Zitharan emergency protocols would have dictated a methodical evacuation following predetermined routes, but those routes no longer existed. Human survival instinct kicked in. Alex accessed the ship's maintenance schematic on his wrist display and identified an alternative path through the environmental control system's ductwork. It would be tight, not designed for humanoid passage, but possible. Vex, he called through the static. Preparing for emergency extraction. Have the shuttle ready. He pried open an access panel and squeezed his armored body into the narrow duct. Using elbows and knees, he propelled himself forward as the ship groaned around him. Twice, sections of ductwork collapsed behind him seconds after he passed through. When he finally emerged near the airlock, his radiation cantor was screaming warnings. The neutron star's flare had intensified beyond predictions, bathing the derelict in lethal levels of radiation that even his enhanced suit couldn't withstand for long. With one final effort, Alex launched himself across the void between ships. The shuttle's airlock opened to receive him, just as the derelict's outer hull began to fracture, releasing ghostly plumes of long-trapped atmosphere into space. Cutting it close, Commander, Vex remarked as she helped remove his helmet. Her eyes shifted between relief blue and anxious yellow. Did you find it? Alex handed her the container. That and more. Your great-grandmother was working with humans before first contact. There's historical evidence. Later, Vex interrupted, already piloting the shuttle away from the deteriorating derelict. The radiation surge triggered automated alerts. We need to reach Kelnar 9 before anyone investigates. Their return to the trading station seemed anticlimactic after their narrow escape. The docking procedure went smoothly, with no indication that anyone had noticed their illicit salvage operation. As they secured the shuttle, Alex allowed himself to think they might have succeeded without complications. That hope shattered as they stepped into the main docking bay. 6 Zytherans in formal attire awaited them, their posture rigid with authority. Behind them stood 4 security drones, weapons-powered but not yet aimed. Vexalia, descendant of the traitor Texela, announced the lead Zytheran, his eyes a cold, accusatory red. By authority of the High Council, you are charged with forbidden archaeological interference and attempted technology theft. Vex stiffened beside Alex, her 6 hands instinctively moving to defensive positions. The human will surrender the quantum matrix and face separate charges for interference in Zytheran affairs, continued the official, gesturing toward Alex. Alex stepped forward, positioning himself slightly in front of Vex. The matrix belongs to no single species. It was developed through collaboration, proof of which I've witnessed firsthand. The lead Zytheran's eyes darkened to an ominous crimson. Collaboration is precisely what we cannot allow. Controlled technological development maintains peace between species. Unregulated innovation leads to chaos. Or progress, Alex countered. The official raised a hand, and the security drones activated their targeting systems. Surrender the matrix now, or we will take it by force. Alex assessed their opposition with military precision. 6 Zytherans, physically weaker than humans, but with superior coordination through their multiple limbs. 4 drones, standard security models with predictable targeting algorithms. Civilian bystanders scattered throughout the docking bay, collateral damage risks. His hand moved imperceptibly toward his sidearm as he calculated odds and trajectories. Humans hadn't survived millennia of evolution by accepting unfavorable odds without adaptation. Last chance, Commander, the official warned. Surrender or face consequences. Actually, Alex said, his hand moving away from his weapon. I propose a third option. The lead Zytheran's eyes flickered with surprise. Clearly, negotiation wasn't the human response he had anticipated. Alex continued, addressing not just the officials, but the growing crowd of onlookers from various species. This quantum matrix represents collaboration between Zytherans and humans that predates official first contact. It belongs to our shared history. Irrelevant, snapped the official. The technology is classified. Because it threatens not security, but control, Alex countered, stepping forward confidently. His military training had included diplomatic protocols for first contact scenarios, situations requiring human adaptability rather than aggression. I suggest we demonstrate it instead. He nodded to Vex, who hesitated briefly before activating the matrix. The crystalline cube pulsed with increasing brightness, projecting holographic data that expanded around them like a constellation of stars. Gasps rippled through the diverse crowd as the beauty of the quantum resonance patterns became visible. The security drones wavered in confusion, their targeting systems unable to classify the phenomenon as a threat. What my great-grandmother discovered, Vex explained, her voice carrying across the suddenly hushed docking bay, was that quantum entanglement isn't limited by species or technology. The universe itself has patterns that all sentient minds can recognize. The matrix is light intensified, creating harmonic patterns that seem to resonate with each observer differently. Mercians, Drevlani, Kluk, and a dozen other species watched in fascination. The Council fears what they cannot control, Alex said, echoing Texela's recorded words. But look around you. Every species here recognizes the potential. This isn't just faster communication or transportation. It's a fundamental reimagining of how we connect across differences. The lead Zytheran official stepped forward to interrupt, but paused as several ambassadors from neutral species emerged from the crowd. The Galactic Federation would be interested in evaluating this technology, announced a Mercian diplomatic representative. Its collaborative origins align with our foundational principles. As would the Drevlani Consortium, added another observer, mandibles clicking thoughtfully. Alex smiled slightly, recognizing the shift in power dynamics. The Zetheran Council couldn't simply confiscate the Matrix now, not with multiple witnesses and diplomatic interest from influential galactic powers. The lead official's eyes shifted to a calculating purple. The Council will need to reconsider its position. In the interim, we propose that neutral parties secure the prototype. Counter-proposal, Vex said, stepping forward to stand shoulder to shoulder with Alex. Commander Reeves and I establish an independent research outpost in neutral space. All findings shared openly with interested species, including Zetherans. Hours of negotiation followed, but the outcome was inevitable once multiple species became invested. Human diplomatic adaptability combined with Vex's technical expertise created a compelling case that even the Zetheran Council couldn't dismiss. 3 weeks later, Alex's repaired scout ship, now enhanced with Vex's modifications, docked at a small asteroid facility in unclaimed space. The newly christened Horizon Workshop featured a sign in multiple languages, including both Standard and Archaic Zetheran script, alongside precise English. All species welcome. Not exactly the mission outcome my commanders expected, Alex remarked as they unpacked equipment. The quantum matrix sat at the center of their main laboratory, ready to continue the work Texela and Commander Chen had begun nearly a century earlier. Disappointed, Vex asked, her eyes shifting to curious blue. Quite the opposite. Alex smiled, surveying their workshop, a place where human adaptability and courage would complement Zetheran precision and theoretical brilliance. Sometimes the most important discoveries require us to change course entirely. Outside their viewport, ships from a dozen different species were already queuing for docking permission, drawn by rumors of the breakthrough technology and the unusual partnership behind it. To New Horizons, Vex said, extending one of her 6 hands. Alex clasped it firmly, and the journeys between